Hey everyone, this is Matt from Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews. I thought it would be fun to let you all in on my May to be read list and let you know my reading schedule and when my reviews are going to come out. I'm very exact about when I read books. I know how long it's going to take me to read them, give or take like a day. I'm pretty OCD, so I have like crazy complicated spreadsheets showing all my reading, the averages for how long I read them, and I've got a really good idea about how long it takes me to read books. I get my reviews up because of the style of my reviews. I get them up pretty much the same day that I read the book. So these dates should be pretty set in stone. So I'm a little bit late for this video, so I'm still gonna start with one of the books that I've already reviewed. And so the first book I started on April 24th, and I ended on May 2nd, and that was the Five Warrior Angels series. The Forgetting Moon by Brian Lee Durfee. I already reviewed this book, so I encourage you to go read that review. But it's one of my favorite books that I might have ever read. It's amazing. I encourage you to read that review, or just skip the review and just go pick up the book. It's wonderful. I started on May 1st, and I'm going to end tomorrow reading The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. And my review is going to come out tomorrow, but I'm not loving this book so far. I'll get into it, but I was really excited to read this. I've read so many good things about it, but yeah, just haven't been super into it, but I'm pushing through, and I'll be done with that tomorrow. So I always read 2 books at a time. So I started a book yesterday, The Realm of the Elderlings, City of Dragons by Robin Hobb. This is the 3rd book in the Rain Wild Chronicles sub-series. So if you're not familiar with The Realm of the Elderlings, there's 5 different sub-series within the books. I think there's 14 or 15 books in the series, something like that. And I'm reading the 4th of those. And if you've seen my reviews about these already, I'm not loving this series, but I am pushing through because I love Robin Hobb. I love The Realm of the Elderlings. And I know that most people agree that this is the weakest of the sub-series, so I'm going to push on through. I'm still reading the book, just started yesterday, but I'm kind of flying through it because I don't love it. I just want to get through it and move on to the next book. But yeah, well, you'll see my review for it. Slight spoiler, I like this one more than the last one, which I basically hated, but it's not great. I am starting... Tomorrow, I'm going to start reading The Broken Empire, Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. I've never read a Mark Lawrence book before. I've heard a lot of great things about this. I try to go into books totally blind. I don't want to know pretty much anything that they're about. But I did hear that this book had a very dark tone to it. And I have been loving fantasy books with a dark tone to them. I was kind of feeling like for some reason, I felt like I wasn't going to love this book. I'm going to read it because I hear a lot of good things, but some kind of vibe was off for me. But I'm very excited about it now. Mark Lawrence, he's friends with mine on Goodreads. He's made a couple comments on my page. I'm excited to read his book. I hope I like it a lot. But I am my interest in this book has certainly been renewed when I learned some very basics about the tone of the book. On May 6th through May 9th, I'm going to be reading a new series. I don't really know how to say this. Jekua, Jekua is the series name, and the book is on Lavender Tides. This is by Travis Riddle. This is a small-time author. I read a comment on Reddit yesterday in the fantasy subreddit talking about this book. It's got a Pokemon feel to it in a fantasy series, a progression fantasy. The only other progression fantasy I've read is Cradle, which I am obsessed with. I'm a huge Cradle fan, and I don't know if it's because I like Cradle or I like this progression fantasy type of book. And if you're not familiar with what that is, it's basically characters getting stronger and stronger and stronger throughout the series. But I grew up playing Pokemon as a kid, and I have very fond memories of it. I've never even thought about a book with that is the basic premise of it. But it sounds interesting. It's got a very small amount of reviews on Goodreads. I messaged the author yesterday and asked him if he could send me a review copy, and he immediately got back to me and sent me a copy. So it's sitting on my Kindle ready to read, and I am very excited to read this book. I'm hoping I like it a lot. I certainly am not opposed to reading smaller authors, and hope this is an awesome book, but I certainly have a lot of interest in it. Starting on May 8th through May 24th, I'm going to be reading The Broken Eye from the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks. This will be the third book in the Lightbringer series, and I love the last book. The first book, I think I gave a 4, maybe a 4.5 out of 5, can't remember right now. The last book in the series, The Blinding Knife, was an easy 5 out of 5. I love that book. So I am very excited to read The Broken Eye. And I see that the ratings for this book are even increased from the previous one. And, I don't know anything about the way this series is going to go down, other than knowing that a lot of people say the last 2 books, especially the last one, is weak, which I hate to hear. I like all readers, I like the books to get better and better and better, and then the last book just being this huge, epic, awesome ending. But I hope that I am the exception to the rule. I hope that I'm like, what are you guys thinking? This last book was awesome. But so far, my opinions of this have kind of followed the trend. And so that worries me a little bit. I'm very excited about reading this book, but I'm worried that the last 2 books, the 4th and the 5th book in the series, that I'm going to not like them. So I am cautiously moving forward with reading the Lightbringer series. On May 9th through May 10th, I'm going to be reading Murderbot, Exit Strategy by Martha Wells. This will be the 4th book in the Murderbot series. These are short little reads. Takes me about a day to read them. And yeah, I mean, what can you say? I like Murderbot books. The last one, I think I gave a 3 out of 5, which is still good. I'm worried that the appeal of Murderbot is kind of, waning a bit for me. That what I liked about it was the premise, and that as they keep going along, unless it gets really innovative, which I think there's a lot of promise here. I mean, there's a lot of ways this could go. Didn't love the last book, though, so I'm hoping that trend just kind of reverses and it gets back on track. But these are like easy little reads, so super easy to bust those out. On May 10th through May 14th, I'm going to be reading A Time of Dread, which is in the Blood and Bone series by John Gwynne. This is a new series for me. I did read The Faithful and the Fallen, which I don't really know how to call it, but it's in the same world. It's like a big time jump, though. None of the same characters, but the same world. And if you've seen my review for The Faithful and the Fallen, I adore these books. It's one of my top, 3 or 4 favorite series of all time. And I've actually heard from a lot of people that Of Blood and Bone is better than Faithful and the Fallen. So out of all of the books on my list in May, this book and the next one I'm going to say are the 2 that I am most looking forward to reading. And I'll just segue into the next book on that list, which I'm going to be reading between May 14th and May 21st. And that is going to be The Blackest Heart, which is part of the 5 Warrior Angels trilogy by Brian Lee Durfee. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I am obsessed with The Forgetting Moon, the first book in this series. I have heard from everybody that the second book is better than the first, so I am very hype about reading this book. I'm positive I'm going to love it. I'm positive it's going to go down as one of my favorite books that I've read in a very long time. Brian Lee Durfee is an awesome writer. I can't wait. I am really looking forward to May 14th coming for me to start up this book. So, yeah, very stoked about reading that. On May 21st through May 26th is the last in the Realm of the Elderlings sub-series that I'm reading, which is Blood of Dragons. And I'm not looking forward to reading this. I'm going to kind of hate read this book. I want to just get through the series. I want this to be done so I can move on to the last series, which I've heard from a lot of people is awesome. So I'm just going to kind of fly through that book maybe even do a little skimming of it, because I have not been this uninterested in reading a book in a long time and just being committed to doing it. So a little bit masochistic of me, but I'm going to do it. Not looking forward to it, though. On May 24th through May 28th, I'll be reading the Goblin Emperor series, The Witness of the Dead, which is the second book in the Goblin Emperor. And I might even cross this one out. I put it on there because I thought I would love the first book. I have not loved the first book. 50-50 if I'm going to read this one. But for now, it's penciled in, so I'm going to keep it on my list. So we'll see. On May 26th through May 29th, I'm going to be reading a series of short stories called The Tales of Bauchelain and Korbal Broach by Stephen Erickson. Stephen Erickson is my favorite writer. Malazan is my favorite series. And in the Malazan Book of the Fallen, there is a couple little characters that pop up that are hilarious. And their names are Bauchelain and Korbal Broach. Stephen Erickson is this like serious, epic fantasy, like Dungeons and Dragons-y type of writer. But he writes funny characters also. He legitimately makes me laugh out loud, second only to Terry Pratchett when it comes to fantasy. So to see some books starring these guys, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not a big fan of short stories generally, but I am optimistic that I'm going to like these. They're not highly rated. Not a ton of people have read them, but I'm interested, and I'm really looking forward to reading that book. And the last book of the month that I'll be reading from May 29th to May 31st is Murderbot, Network Effect. So 2 Murderbot books this month, and yeah, easy reads, simple stuff. I'm not going to go into a ton of depth into it. I know nothing about this book other than it's a Murderbot book, so looking forward to it. So that is my May to be read list. A lot of books, but yeah, should be fun. Looking forward to grinding through it and letting you all know my reviews. So yeah, that's my video. Thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments what you think about any of these books, or if you have any recommendations for things that I should read. Thanks a bunch.